Welcome to another edition of Math Magic with Jen. Today we're going to be talking about first grade story problems, and we're going to focus on adding tools today. So what different things you can use in your classroom to help first graders. All right. So first up, what's a story problem? Back in my day, we just called them a word problem, but there are a few sentences that describe a mathematical story that a student needs to solve. So as I said, we're going to try some different methods today. Let's look at an example of a simple type of first grade problem. So here we've got 5 rabbits were playing in the grass. If 2 rabbits hopped away, and how many are left? So we've got the scenario of 5 little rabbits, 2 are hopping away. So we want to see what's left. Now, obviously, it would be fantastic if they were already thinking about 5 minus 2 equals 3, but they might not be there yet, okay? So we want to talk about different ways to visualize this. So the first is linking cubes, the second is picture models, and the third, number bond. Okay, so let's talk about these linking cubes. Sometimes I call them interlocking blocks, but honestly, if you want to search them, they're called linking cubes. And I've got some right here in my hands. You can kind of see size. They're about maybe around an inch size cube. What's great about them is that they are big enough that the kids can really kind of grasp onto them, because for first grade, you might still have some issues with fine motor skills. They are cheap. I got a set of 100 for a little less than $10. And so it was 10 different colors, 10 cubes each. The ones that I happen to have in my hand, you can't see them, but they also actually have little shapes in them. So the ones that are on the screen just have circles in the middle, but mine have like little squares, triangles, hexagons, whatever. Okay, but the whole point of these cubes, other than to say they're cheap, is that they're great tactile objects your students can use. So you could give students either at their own table, if it's at a table group, if it's at a learning center, you can give a stack of these cubes and we could just have them model the story. So we'd start off by saying, there were 5 rabbits, eh? So how many cubes do you want to put out to represent those rabbits? So those students would count out those 5 cubes. Then we'd say, okay, well, how many hopped away? So when they read that story, they hear, oh, 2 hopped away. Okay, so take 2 away. So separate the 2 from the group, and then they can count what's left. So simple, really nice. It also, if you want to have them practice their auditory listening skills, you have a student, a teacher, an aide calling out the story repetitively, then they can really practice also. How many did I hear? Oh, I heard 5. So it's practicing lots of skills at once, but definitely the linking cubes are a great idea. Okay, picture models. So this is the natural transition of, hey, my student was working with these linking cubes on their desk. How are they going to now visualize that on their paper? So as you can see from my amazing drawing, this is that idea of, hey, they put 5 on their desk, 2 hopped away, how many are left? So we've got our original 5. Now you can see mine are circles. They're awful circles, but they are circles. You could use dots, you could use squares, you could use X's. I would caution you to have the students draw actual rabbits. That would eat up time. So, and you might have a student who's really trying to draw rabbits, and maybe you have to redirect them of art time is later today. So here we're just trying to solve. So I could definitely see a student saying, hey, the cubes are more square-like. Can I draw squares? Sure. But again, our 5 cubes we put on our desk, we need to show that 2 went away. So as you can see, I just put a circle with an arrow, but you could have students figure out how they'd like to show that 2 went away. And then we're also highlighting the 3 that are left. So that the whole point of a picture model is to basically represent what they were modeling on their desk with blocks. Okay, now in the first grade textbook, they will also have picture models ready to go. So they'll give a story problem with a picture model that students just need to work with. So here it says, Jessie picked 8 flowers. She gave 3 to her sister and the rest to her mom. How many did she give to her mom? So here you can see that the book already gave us 8 flowers. So at this point, the students just need to circle and group for the sister versus the mom. You might have some students ask, well, which 3 do I grab? And we might say, well, they're all the same. Doesn't matter which 3. So you may have students grab these. You might even want a discussion point of, does it matter which 3 we grab? That will we still have the same result at the end? And hopefully they're all going to go, oh, we're going to still have the same answer at the end. So here's our 3 that we're giving our sister, and then they can actually count, right, the 5 that are left. So that's the other piece that I haven't said out loud, is that when they're solving it, you may have students who are actually counting, right? Those rabbits, they might have to actually count 1, 2, 3 for what's left. Here they might have to actually count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Tapping and counting is a great thing, that they're actually making contact with their paper as they're counting and making sure they're getting every single one. But again, really simple technique, super powerful. All right, I got one more for you, and that's number bonds. So I already had a previous video on number bonds. We saw that it's basically your math facts that are created in circle form, okay? Typically, your top circle is your total. The other 2 are the 2 pieces. You can use dots, you can use numbers, whatever you want to do. These are great because it is kind of visualizing the pieces versus the whole. So in this example, it says Mario is at a park. He counts 3 trees and then another 7 trees. How many trees total did Mario see at the park? Now, obviously, we could solve this problem with the linking cubes. We could solve it with a picture model. This is kind of that net piece of trying to get to an equation. And so here we could count our 3, we could count our 7, and then we're asking how many is that total. So again, this is kind of like our picture model. Here it is now in number form. And the hope is that we're building these skills so we get to the point where they're gonna think in equation form. Okay, so we're building those pieces so they are going to get to that main target. Awesome. Okay, so just a couple examples just so you can see it in action. So this first one says 6 frogs were in a garden. Some hopped away. If there are 2 left in the garden, then how many hopped away? Now, in a separate video, we're going to talk about problem structure and are you missing the first piece? Are you missing the second? Are you missing the third? So here, if you can imagine, again, here I'm using a picture model, but you could also think of blocks. We'd ask our students, can you draw or represent 6 frogs that are in that garden? So if they're grabbing those linking cubes, they're going to grab 6 cubes, or they're going to draw 6 shapes. And then it says, some hopped away. We don't know how many that is. So we're going to have to wait just a second on that piece. But they did tell me there are 2 left. So of those 6, can you choose 2 that are left? So again, this is us talking it out with our first grade student. And so you can see here that I identified any 2 that are left. Now, time out. You might have some students asking, how did you know it was those? How did you know it was the last 2? You can choose. You could choose which 2. I just need students to circle and identify 2, right? 2 that are left. So these are the 2 that are left. So now we can see that 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4 is the answer of how many hopped away. Okay. Now, we could do another example using number bonds. So here it says some butterflies were in a garden. We don't even know how many. 1 more joined them. If there are 6 total butterflies, then how many were at the beginning? So we don't know what we're starting with. We've got 1 more, and we know we ended up with 6. So here again, I will say, to me, number bonds are the most advanced of the 3 concepts we talked about today. So maybe we start with the picture model or the linking cubes. But what I will say is that we'd ask our students, okay, do we know how many total we've got? And so we've got those 6. Okay, so there's my 6. And that's my total. It says 1 more joined them. So we need to identify the 1 that joined the original. Okay, so here's our joiner. So that means that this group is my original. Now you may be thinking, Jen, why did you just draw a picture model rather than a number bond? Well, if we want them to practice the skill of a number bond, then we might want to have them relate this to the picture. That my total is what's going up here. So I would write my total of 6. This is going to be how many joined, and this is going to be my start. Now, obviously, we figured out that the start answer is going to be 5. So we could even replace that question mark with a 5. But the point still remains, they're all very similar, just slightly different. So if we start with that kind of picture model idea, we can work our students to the number bond concept. And the benefit of the number bond concept is that they are going to be working towards math equations, right? That's what we want them to work towards, is math equations, math facts, thinking of how things relate to each other. But first it's modeling, and then we're getting to equations. And that number bond piece is that bridge. Okay. I could talk forever about number bonds. I probably shouldn't. Okay, what do you like best? You're probably like, I think Jen loves, one piece over another. I will say, to me, there seems to be kind of a natural progression of linking cubes first, then picture models, and then number bonds. But you may have kids who gravitate towards one thing over the other. So you got to kind of be flexible. So here, when I think, which do you think will appeal to students when they are first learning? I think it's probably the linking cubes, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Every class might be different. Every class might be different. Will that preference stay the same, or do you think it might change? You can make an argument for either one, that maybe it's their comfort zone, so they want to stick with it, or maybe their brains are developing, they want a faster way to do it, better problem solving, so maybe they're going to switch gears. Again, arguments can be made both ways. Do you have some other ideas? So I can't, or not me, but right now I'm presenting to you linking cubes, picture models, and number bonds, but what else is out there? What else do you think might be helpful to connect those concepts? So these are just some thinking points. There are no wrong answers to this list. It's just to get your brain flowing and thinking about what is going to work. Okay. With that, we finished the first grade adding tools. My next video is going to be talking about the structure of the first grade story problems. So keep your eye out for that. But otherwise, have an awesome day, and I hope that life treats you well, and that you are enjoying math as much as I. Have a good one. Bye-bye.